Coach Stoops here at Louie's Grill and Bar for Rock and Roll Tequila. Swing by your local Louie's today and try a mango margarita. Rock and Roll Tequila and Louie's are a winning team. Louie's, we're in your neighborhood.
Welcome to a special presentation of Sellout Crowd, Conversations with Coach. I'm Bob Stoops. I'm taking time to talk with my friends and colleagues in the sports world to get caught up and share some stories. But first, I want to say thanks to these sponsors: Rose Hill Builders, First Fidelity Bank, and Louie's Bar and Grill. This is special, this presentation. I'm going to be joined all day here, or all these segments, with Mark Rodgers, our high school football expert here in the state of Oklahoma, and then some great coaches that are in the playoffs here around the state. Near and dear to my heart, I grew up in a high school football fields, high school gym, high school locker rooms, running around with my father, who was a 30-year high school teacher and coach. So welcome, Brad. Great to have you here. Welcome, Mark. Appreciate you guys joining me.
It's an honor, Coach. Thank you.
Listen, Mark Rodgers is really the director of this podcast because of his expertise in the high school area, high school football area. But Brad, I know this is your 10th year, I believe, at Tuttle.
Yes, sir.
2018 state champions. And I want to tell you right off the start, Brad, the very first school I visited when I became the head coach at Oklahoma in 1999. Actually, it was December of 98 when I was introduced. I called Jason White, the great Tuttle player, was football, basketball, baseball, great athlete at Tuttle. He was already committed to Miami. I called him on the phone after I was introduced as a head coach, and I said, Jason, how far is Tuttle from Norman, Oklahoma? He said, Coach, it's about 45 minutes. I said, can I be there in an hour? And he said, come on, we'll accept you. And fortunately, they allowed me in his home, and we got together there and had Jason eventually come over to visit. Ends up committing to Oklahoma, and everybody knows the story from there. Heisman Trophy winner and a great guy. And I'm assuming you know Jason.
We know Jason well. Jason's still an active member of our community and great. His son, Tannen, plays right tackle for us. Started a little bit last year as a sophomore, but now in a full-time starting position at right tackle for us. Hard-working young man, just like his dad. You could see that fire in there. You can see that intense desire to prepare, to get better. And Jason's at all of our games. You'll never know he's there. He doesn't want you to see him. You guys know that.
Yep. Hey, I want to tell you, too, now I ran into you also my first year. You were a coach at NEO, right?
Yes, sir. That was my first memory of Coach Bob Stoops. I was just a peon little dorm guy, at NEO, trying to learn my way as well. And Coach Stoops gets hired, walks in the room, sits in front of our entire staff and said, I want everybody. I want them all. I want them. We want to take care of them. And Coach Stoops ended up with, let's see, you got Corey Heineke, Ramon Richardson, some of the guys that really made an impact on that 2000 national championship team that you guys had.
Oh, those guys are big-time players, absolutely, and made a huge difference. And I appreciate the help way back then.
Well, you guys did the work, Coach. You guys did the work.
Yeah.
You might not recognize Tuttle right now. Brad, how's the new facility coming along? The stadium looks great, and I know the coaches' offices are going to be just next level.
We're real excited, Mark. We're not there yet. We're looking at probably the only thing holding us up right now is an elevator. And they're working on it right now. As soon as that's complete, we'll get full occupancy of the upper half of the building, which houses all the offices and meeting rooms. Right now, we're allowed to go into our two locker rooms and our equipment room. So basically, our equipment room is our coach's office, laundry station, you name it, man. And hey, we don't care. We'll do it in the parking lot if we have to. It's going to be beautiful when it's finished. And I'm really excited for all the kids, all the guys coming up in this program, just future generations. It's going to be top notch.
What do you see in this year's Wagoner team that's different than the last couple that you faced?
Oh, gosh, to me, they look the same every year. They're going to have great skilled kids. They're going to be physical. They're going to play really good, aggressive defense. You're really going to have to pick and choose where you take your shots and when you take your shots, and you're just going to have to be patient. They're not going to give you a cheap victory and give you cheap points. It's going to come down, can we go over there? Can we execute? Can we not turn the football over? Can we do what we're supposed to do longer than they're willing to do what they're supposed to do? And I think that's just two good programs going at it. We're familiar with one another. I love Coach Condict. I love their staff. We talked on the phone the other day, and people said, "What'd you guys talk about?" Well, we talked about fishing for about 30 minutes and then film trade the other 5, So just good people and people I like being around in the profession. Much respect to them and their program. And listen, if we're playing Wagoner this time of year, it's a good year. It's a good time. It'll be a good ball game.
Brad, I heard you bring up turnovers. Isn't it amazing how turnovers, penalties, and third downs? To me, the game's pretty simple. If you win those battles or you win 2 of the 3, you're going to usually win the game. But let's talk about some of the guys on your team you want to brag about. Who are some of the guys key guys that we can the community can look for, as they listen and watch the game?
I think the first one that will shine to everyone is probably a young man named Brady McAdoo. You might have heard that name before. His sister Macy pitched at the University of Oklahoma softball for a while until her career was cut short with a hip injury. But Brady is a little bit of everything for us. Started the season as mostly a running back, and then about 5th week, we put him out in the slot, try to get him the ball different ways. So he'll play running back, he'll play receiver, he'll return punts and kicks, he'll punt for us. He plays outside linebacker in the odd stack, which is a little bit of a safety position as well. He'll do everything for us. He had about 210 total yards the other night against Weatherford. So I think he averaged about 11 yards a touch last week. So big key for us to get him the ball. And then Noah McDoulet, a 6'5" young man, probably going to be a tight end after high school, plays the other outside linebacker spot for us. And also will play tight end and inside receiver for us. Those guys, when you turn the film on or you watch the game, you're going to notice them.
Brad, you guys have had another great season. You played a really tough non-conference schedule against Guthrie, a team that's got a great defense. I know Blankenship and Newcastle are also really good this year. Do you think that schedule prepared you for a game like this? Your kids are ready to go against an opponent that's defending state champion?
I don't think there's any doubt about it, Mark. I think probably earlier in my career, you try to get those games in non-district where victories are what you need and confidence is what you need. And I think the older I get and the more our program develops, it's important that we play people that challenge us and get us out of our comfort zone early in the season. And we had to go up against a Guthrie defense that was better than us. And we had to find a way to survive. Our kids had to find a way to fight through those things. And then we play really well that game, don't get the victory. Then we get up against Blanchard, and like Coach Stoops and I were talking about, we turned the ball over 7 or 8 times in one game and get beat 20-6. We don't give up a defensive touchdown all night, and we lose 20-6. So we've been to that bottom spot. And we talked after the game the other night, you don't get to the high points in your season without going through those rough spots. And only the teams that are willing to stick together through those low spots get to experience what that top spot's like. So we feel good about them. Our kids have pulled together. Everybody's peaking at the right time. Everyone's healthy. We're really excited about getting to play football Friday night.
Brad, I agree with you wholeheartedly that challenging your program, challenging your players and coaches, playing tough competition makes you better, and you'll be better for it going into this game. And 7 o'clock, right, at Wagoner.
Yes, sir. 7 o'clock.
I don't, Mark, anything else? I wish you the best of luck, Brad, and I'll be watching and looking for the score. I got to admit, I'll be in Salt Lake City getting ready for the BYU game.
I don't blame you, Coach. And I just want to say, too, what an honor it is to talk to you finally and speak to you. I used to be a defensive coordinator. When you came to Oklahoma, we were everything. We were over solid 3, rip dogs, slam dogs, cross dogs, 3-hole. Coach, it's just an honor. And all of us in the state of Oklahoma admire you and what you've done and how you've taken care of Oklahoma high school coaches. And it means the world to us.
Well, that's very kind of you, Brad. Thank you. And now we've got a special guest, a longtime friend, great coach throughout Oklahoma and through the years. Been a longtime friend, but I'm going to go to our high school football expert, Mark Rodgers, to introduce him.
One of the very best to ever do it, Bob. Coach B, Bill Blankenship at Owasso right now in his 7th year, 6-time state champion. Started the program going and got the ball rolling at Union, and now is at Owasso. Has won 2 state championships since he's been there. Bill, this is going to be an interesting game coming up. You got a cross-state rival, Norman North, coming up to play, and so it should be a good one on Friday night.
Well, Mark, I think so. And certainly, you've kept up with these guys. Justin Jones is as good as anybody out there in terms of how he runs a program and preparing his young men. And this is I'm not giving you coach speak. This is a well-coached, fundamentally sound team. And it's not a surprise that they're sitting at 9-2 and playing really well right now.
Coach, the last time I saw you, I was in your office trying to recruit Josh Proctor.
Yeah.
you in that same office you're in.
Absolutely. That's exactly right, Coach.
But anyway, I'm happy to see him still playing. I've followed him all the way through at Ohio State. I don't have any bad feelings. He's done a great job, was a wonderful young man. You still keep up with him, I'm sure.
Actually, I do. And it's interesting because Josh and a couple other players on his team was on our first team here in 2017. And they, as many around the country, have benefited from that extra COVID year. Josh had to fight through a couple of injuries at Ohio State, and he's actually had a really good campaign this year. I'm very proud that he's able to finish it up well.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, let's talk about your quarterback. Knox Dyson's having a heck of a year, and I know at any level, quarterback's the key guy to help you win a championship.
Well, they make us better coaches for sure when we have one that can play.
I've had a few of them.
Absolutely. Knox is an interesting story in that Knox had been at Owasso for us up through 8th and 9th grade, and then moved over to Union, and kind of the portal apparently is still open even at the high school level. And so it did not work out for him. He wound up at Beggs the next year. His mom and dad kept working here in the Owasso school system. And so they just kind of pulled him back and said, look, you're coming back regardless your senior year. And fortunately for us, it all worked out. He's competed all during the spring and summer with another young man, Tyler Cavanis, that we love to death. And they just made each other better. And Knox has, I think, continued to improve, Coach. Probably playing his best football right now, and that's what you want from your quarterback.
Absolutely.
I think I'd want to play quarterback in Coach B's system. Is that the old quarterback in you that you like to open it up? And I knew he threw for 500 yards against Santa Fe. That was an amazing game. I know had a good game against Norman High as well in the regular season finale.
Well, it's interesting, Mark. Those numbers, that was a record for us, and I had no idea we even came close to it. I've never been much about statistics and numbers and how we do all that. We really work to have a balanced attack. To me, if all you can do is throw it, you're not going to be able to do that very long when a good defense comes along. And if all you can do is run it, you're not going to be able to do that very long. And so you better be able to do both. We were kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit against Santa Fe, got down 17. And so it was just forcing us to throw the ball a little more than maybe we would traditionally. And it wasn't even the number of throws. We just got several over the top, and he was able to get the ball to some playmakers going over the top against Santa Fe. And we're coming from behind. We actually never led the game until the final 14 seconds. And so when that happens, you're probably going to be able to keep the ball throwing in the air a little more than maybe on a normal game. So when we got done with it all and looked up, he's over 500 yards. So pretty cool deal.
Bill, playing our local school here, Norman North.
Yep.
What are some keys to the game you feel if you guys are going to come out with the win Friday night? What are some big parts of the game that you feel are key to your success?
Well, I think Esselman does a good job at their quarterback spot. he is a guy that can extend plays and throw the ball pretty well. And then I don't think it's any secret they've got a young man, a sophomore, number 6, James, I think Mason James. Yep. And that guy's a legit player. And they're using him in a lot of different ways. We have a young man on our team, Jakari Thomas, that I think is similar in that you just got to get the ball in his hands. And so if that means putting him in the backfield, giving him a speed sweep, throwing him the ball, wildcat quarterback, whatever you can do, when you've got a guy that can play, you've got to do it. And I think, again, I go back to what Coach Jones does, Justin. They do a nice job of figuring out different ways to get him the ball. And so between, what do we have to do? We've got to control those big plays. If we can make them have to move the ball down the field and not get the explosives on us, I think we've got a good shot. But, that's easier said than done.
I sound like a broken record. I always feel to win that turnover battle, right?
Every time, Coach. And that's not lost on me at all. Yeah. Every level of football, from junior high all the way to the NFL. Yep. If you can win the turnover battle, you've got a shot. And if you can win it by 3, you're just about guaranteed for a win. It's not a guarantee, but it's statistically, that's the whole deal. You got to have more takeaways than giveaways.
Agreed. I know, Bob, growing up in Youngstown, where high school football is so important there, the culture of high school football in Tulsa, I think it has to be one of the best in the country, with the major schools that you guys have. And those schools don't really split. You go all the way down to the elementary school level, and kids just grow up wanting to play for that school and that brand. What's that like, Bill, and competing? Your son is also the head coach at Broken Arrow. And so it's got to be fun every week to go up against the likes of Jinx and Union and BA and Bixby too. I can't leave them out.
It's fun if you're a little bit sick. There's no easy days. The thing that has made us great, and I go back to my days even at Union, it was not lost on us. And Coach Trimble and I used to talk about it all the time. The thing that made us really good was Jinx, and the thing that made Jinx better was Union. And it's not the arrogance of that. I'm just telling you, the communities care enough to want to compete. It's the same as the college game peeled back down a different level. I mean, the reason that OU has to keep the arms race going is because all the people they're competing with are building new things and doing new things. Well, if you sit stationary in Owasso and let Jinx and Broken Arrow and Bigsby and all of those people continue to grow their programs, then you would be kind of foolish. Well, the good thing about it is our community won't let us do that. The community wants to compete, and so they'll pass bond issues. They'll allow us to have some of the best facilities in the state, if not the country. And I think that's what's magical about what we get to be a part of over here in the Tulsa area, is just the suburban community competitiveness. And it probably means something more to the parents sometimes than it does even us coaches. So that's a good thing.
I'll say this, having been around the game a little while. Now, I've been out a few years, but my 40 years, some of being a college player, coach, going around the country, come from Ohio, and you go to other great places, Florida, California, whatnot, Texas, the Oklahoma football, and throughout, we're not a highly populated state, but throughout that Tulsa area, it's as good as anywhere you'll go. And I've seen it all. So you're absolutely correct. It's great programs over there, not just football, but everything about the school districts and what they're doing is great.
Well, we really do have really good football in Oklahoma, and it's not isolated to over here, but I think the standard that gets raised helps everybody. Right. I keep bringing back Justin Jones at Norman North. There are guys over there, Lee at Mustang and Wade Stanley at Deer Creek, and I'm going to leave some guys out. They know they want to get the exposure of coming to these. Kyle Wyatt at Santa Fe, same thing. They come over for camps. They come over for 7 because they want their people to see the commitment level, because all that does is help all of us. And we continue to grow the game. we don't have as many. The population's not what we have in Texas and Florida and all that. But I think pound for pound and man for man, there's a lot of talent in the high schools of Oklahoma.
Can I jump in on that, Mark? I've said before, though, there isn't a ton of, just because of the sheer numbers, like you just said, Bill, but the ones we do get, they're as good as any in the country.
Yeah,
when you look
agreed.
at the Jermaine Gresham, Sam Bradford's, Jason White's, Jamal Brown, I can go on, Gerald McCoy. Again, like you said, I'm going to leave out some. It goes, those guys are as good as anywhere in the country, the guys that we do get. Teddy Lehman, Rocky Kelmus. I can't.
Coach, you go back to that national championship team you had.
Oh,
and you had
Corey Klein played for Coach B,
team.
right?
Yeah, no question. I agree totally, and I love it that I know Coach Venables is recruiting the heck out of the state of Oklahoma, and I love it.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks, Bill. I appreciate your time, man. It's really good to see you, and we wish you the best of luck going up Friday and throughout the playoffs.
Mark, thank you for all you do for high school football, because that's been a passion of yours for a long time, and we appreciate that. And Coach Stoops, always good to see you, and I'm proud to say we knew each other even back in the days when you were at K-State and before
That's
that,
right.
and getting to just be a part of the recruiting process and all your great success here in Oklahoma. So thank you.
Well, you've been a great friend, Bill, and coaches enjoy other coaches. That's for sure. So wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, Louis, where cheeseburgers, pizza, wings, sandwiches, and tacos live in perfect menu harmony for any picky palate. The only thing you need to pick is dine in or take out. Louis, for all y'all.
These are some special segments. I'm enjoying the heck out of this, being able to brag on some high school playoff teams throughout the state, and these coaches have a chance to brag about their players. And I'm going to pass this off to our high school football expert, Mark Rodgers, to introduce our next guest.
Coach Mike Dunn is the head coach at Carl Albert, and he's kind of the quintessential Carl Albert guy. He won 4 state championships as a player. He won a state championship as an assistant, and now he's won a state championship as a head coach. And some people are saying that this might be the best team ever at Carl Albert that's produced a bunch of players that have played at Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and all over the country. What's going on, Coach Dunn? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Great, Mike.
Good. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to talk to you. Class 5A this year, we talked about what a great team you guys have had. You've had an excellent season. Won a game at Guthrie that I watched, stayed at home and watched the entire second half on the edge of my seat. You guys throw a touchdown pass in the final minute of the game to win that one. Del City is also undefeated in Class 5A, which is one of the Mid-Del schools. That Guthrie team, I'm sure, would like to get another shot at you guys. They're 10-1. We're going to talk with Coach Wyatt here in a few minutes. He's 11-0 at Elgin. This is a pretty special year for your class.
Yeah. Well, if you look at it, I mean, just going back and looking at the first round of the playoffs, there were some unreal matchups. I mean, really good games. I mean, fourth place, fourth seed versus 1 seeds. There were really good games, and some tough first round matchups. So I think it shows the depth and just kind of shows where 5A football is right now. It's one of the funnest classes to watch just because I think there is a lot of parity. I mean, people have kind of made it about the 4 teams that you just talked about, but I think, Claremore's 10-1 right now. Bishop McGinnis is starting to roll. Bishop Kelly has done some really good things with winning their district. I mean, I think you've got 8 quality football teams, and we're playing Collinsville this week, and just look at Collinsville's past just over the last 4 or 5 years. We've had some big time games with them. They beat us in the semifinals my first year here, and so I mean, there's a lot of really good football being played in 5A right now.
Mike, you won 4 state championships with Coach Rose, good friend of mine, and how much of the program how much do you go back to the way Gary Rose ran the program, and he had so much success? Did you stick to most of what he the foundation that he started?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why try to fix something that's not broke? When I got here and I took over as the head coach, Coach Corley stayed on, and he's still on staff, so I've got a guy that I can bounce ideas off of, and we've got a lot of coaches like that. But Coach Corley, when he took over for Coach Rose, he didn't change a whole lot. We got a saying around here that and the saying is, nothing's changed. And that's something Coach Rollins, Tex Rollins, longtime coach here, that was one of his sayings. And it's something that really holds true. We try to keep with the same traditions. We've added some razzle dazzle here and there. We've done some things different the last few years, but not as far as the culture, the traditions. We're still running our 14 state championship hills today. We're going to run our 14 sprints today, and we try to keep with those things. We ran fartleks yesterday, and the Carl Albert guys that watch this going back 25 years, they're going to say, yep, fartleks on Tuesday and hills on Wednesday, So
I love it.
There's a lot of things that we've kept, and Coach Rose obviously is the legend around here, and we all love him and
Sure.
have special relationships with him. And so why change something that's worked a lot of years?
What years were you there that you won the state all 4 years?
So 98 through 2001. I was a freshman on the 1998 team, and back then it was Carl Albert Junior High, and we were able to come up after the season. Anybody could come up, and there was about 5 or 6 of us. J.D. Runnels was on that team. We graduated together, and J.D. and Andre Daniel, our quarterback, they both were big-time basketball players, so they didn't come up as freshmen, so they didn't get that ring like a few of us did as freshmen. But there was about 5 of us that came up, and then won it my sophomore year, beat El Reno in a thriller, and then junior year we beat Ada. They beat us earlier in the year, and we got them back. And then my senior year we played Altus, and a really good Altus football team that made a run there in the playoffs, and had a lot of fun playing here and learned a lot of good stuff.
I was sure glad I found J.D. Runnels. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think it was after that Booker T game. J.D. tells that story a lot to our guys, just about being patient. It was so much different back then. Obviously we all knew that JD was a phenomenal athlete, but he was a guy that was kind of hard to, what's he going to do in college? He played tight end for us, but he's 5'11", 6 foot, probably not a tight end in college. And then he played free safety and defensive end on defense. So he's probably a linebacker type body, but he hadn't played it. And then you guys saw him in that Booker T game, and he just went crazy.
Coach Xavier Robinson, the commit to Oklahoma in 2024, is a little bit similar to JD. I think he's even a little bit bigger. I wouldn't want to tackle him, Mike. Where do you see him? Where do you see him fitting in at the Division I level?
Yeah, well, I think the guys at OU are definitely going to give him his shot at running back. He's special. He's a running back. He's a running back at that level. I think he can play anywhere in the country, and he's a guy that, not only he is a big guy, you look at him, you think, man, I don't know, does he move that well? He's a 4.5 40 guy all day long. You see him in games. He breaks out. He doesn't get caught, and he's a guy that he's not just I'm going to run you over, or he's just a big bruising type back. He's a finesse guy. He can make you miss. He's got great moves in the open field. He can make guys miss at the second level. He's a complete back. He's a big old, just really phenomenal athlete for being, he's 6'2", 235 pounds. And I think once he gets up there and gets with Schmitty and those guys, and he starts getting on that training table, the sky's the limit for him of what his body's going to look like in 2 or 3 years.
Mike, OU's got 3 other commits. That's quite a haul from one school. Talk about your other guys a little bit that are committed to OU.
Yeah. So I think start with Kevin Sperry Jr., quarterback. Kevin's an absolute stud. Just a dude of a human, dude of a football player. He's a great leader. He's the total package. He's exactly what you would want managing your team and leading your program. He's a guy that puts everybody first. We go into a season like this, and you're kind of worried. The worry is, how do you get the ball to everybody? And Kevin, I think we looked at the other day, he's thrown passes to 10 different receivers. He's just a phenomenal kid, and we're an RPO team, and Kevin is the guy that's going to make the right reads. Just a great player, great kid. Then Trinae Washington. Trinae is a wide receiver. He's a strong safety. He's a corner. He's a guy that does a whole lot of different things. He's also probably, I would say maybe the best punter in the state of Oklahoma. Last year as a sophomore, his punt average, he had 25 punts on the year, and his punt average was almost 44 yards. And so,
wow,
pretty phenomenal, And then this year, I think he's punted 12 times, and it's up above 40 again this year. And he's killed, I want to say of the 12, he's killed 8 of them inside the 20. And so he's a stud athlete all around. He can do a lot of different things at the next level. Marcus James also committed. He and Trinae committed on the same day. And Marcus is a big-time outside linebacker. I think they're probably going to probably look at him as a will. I think he's a guy that could maybe play that cheetah position for the OU guys. He's just again, and he's been offered as a tight end. I think TCU was recruiting him as a tight end. He's got 5 or 6 touchdowns for us. He's probably our third leading receiver. Again, just another phenomenal big time athlete. And I guess the best thing as a coach you can say about all these guys is, when your dudes are the ones that are also the hardest workers and the guys that are leading practice and the guys that are giving 110% all the time, you got good things going, And then we've got one more that hadn't committed yet is Tristan Haynes, and Tristan's he's a top 300 guy in the nation, and I think he's a top 10 corner in the nation right now, and 2025 class. And I don't know what Tristan's going to do, but Tristan is another one that the OU guys are on pretty heavy.
Coach Stoops, you combine all that talent with the work ethic that they've got in that program, and that's why you end up with the 0 in the loss column. Because I know that they work really hard over there, and it's not just a place where elite players congregate.
No, and like Mike said, they've had this tradition for decades now, and Mike's wise to just continue it the way it's been and continue to build on it. Lastly, Mike, what are some keys for you in this game? If you're going to come away with the win, first of all, where's the game versus Collinsville?
It's going to be at Gary Rose Stadium here at home.
Okay, great. What are some keys for you guys to win the game?
I think we got to be better on first down. That's something that I guess any defensive guy would say is, first down defense, we need to be better. We need to be physical and make sure that we're keeping people behind the sticks, not letting people get comfortable and in a rhythm. Offensively, we got to be able to take what the defense is giving us, and everybody plays is different. And it's, I would not like to have to game plan for us. We've got good receivers out wide. We've got a good running back. We've got a quarterback that's a dual threat guy. And we've got an offensive line that's got 4 seniors that have played last year, and some of them started as sophomores as well. So we kind of got the total package over there. But, as always, you got to be the most physical team. You got to protect the ball. You got to limit mistakes. I mean, that's what we talk a lot about, controlling the things that we can control. And our guys have done a really good job of that this year. And so, if we go play Carl Albert football, I like our chances. And we try to make it about us more than we do about the other team.
I agree with you. Play a clean game with turnovers, penalties. Yep. And without mistakes, and you're hard to beat, no doubt.
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Mike, I appreciate you joining us. Best of luck to you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Dale Condict, the head coach at Wagoner, the defending Class 4A state champs in his 19th season as the head coach of the Bulldogs. Coach, this has been a great season for you guys. We talked to Brad Ballard earlier that this Wagoner-Tuttle game has become one that we can expect every year in the playoffs to be kind of a knockdown, drag-out game.
Yeah, there's no doubt Tuttle always has our attention. They play tremendous defense. Their kids are tough. They're well organized, well coached. And I've told Coach Ballard, if we would both win our district, we wouldn't have to play in the second round. We could meet in the state championship game. But this will be 4 years in a row that we've either finished second and them first, or us first and them second. So we've matched up here in the quarterfinal round, which makes for great football early in the playoffs.
Hey, Dale, you guys have had double-digit wins in 16 of the last 19 years. What is it with Wagoner, and what are some of the fundamentals of your program that you've been able to have that sustained success?
Well, we kind of have a system of coaching our kids from 7th grade all the way through. We stay involved with our youth program. But wow. They've allowed me to continually, add and develop our coaching staff. So if a young man plays linebacker, inside linebacker at Wagoner, he will have the same coach from 7th grade all the way through his senior season. So
wow, that's great.
That's been a big advantage for us. And, I feel like you always have to be finding new ways to improve your facilities, your look, your offense, your defense, and every aspect of your program. And we've had an administration and school board here, our community, they all support us in a great way. So we feel like we've always been finding new ways to improve on what we're doing.
Coach, last year you finished second in your district. You lost to Cushing in a pretty decisive defeat in the regular season and came back and beat them in the state championship game. What was it? Is it just the process of continuing to improve throughout the season? And how were you able to turn the tables a year ago on a team that beat you pretty handily in the regular season?
Well, we had a really young team last year, and when Cushing beat us the first time, I would say I don't know if it's the most lopsided score I've ever been a part of, but it was the biggest beatdown I'd ever been a part of. I mean, we walked away there feeling very defeated, and really just at the mentality at that point was, can we get good enough just to go play them again? Didn't know if we could beat them or not, but along the way we just kept getting better and found little ways to be able to move the ball a little bit better, and had some things we were doing late in the game the first time that we thought, boy, if we got a rematch, we could probably tweak a few things that would help give us a chance, but put a game plan together. And, I remember walking in after the semifinal game and telling our coaches, man, these guys right now, they think they can beat anybody, and I'm not going to tell them anything different. So really probably the most proud moment of my coaching career was the game against Tuttle last year in the championship, because we had a group of kids that executed a game plan near perfection, and everything had to go perfect for us to win, and they found a way to get that done, hit a field goal. I mean, you only dream as I grew up a coach's son, and all I've known is Friday night football my entire life, and you can only dream of winning a state championship with 3 seconds left on a kick, So it was pretty thrilling.
You brought up being a coach's son. How is your father Tom doing?
Well, he passed away, Coach, in 2015. But Coach, he lived through me, through my son is coaching now, and that people ask me about him all the time. He was taken way before he should have been, at a young age.
I didn't realize that. Obviously,
that's okay. Coach, I have people ask me still all the time, because he was a very influential man, a very powerful personality, and had a tremendous influence not on me, but so many coaches around the state that are still coaching. And I still, every day as I approach my job, I'm trying to find a way to be as good as he was. And
I love it.
So I think of him every day, and he's a big part of what I do and what my family's about. But I appreciate you asking.
Dale, we've got a few OU fans out there listening, so let's talk about OU commit Alex Shieldnight and the job he's doing for you.
You bet. Tremendous young man. And, Coach, I was actually an equipment manager at University of Oklahoma in the early 90s. I was the same grade as Cale Gundy, and so I was for Larry Coker. Larry Coker was the coach I was with, and Larry Coker's dad actually influenced my dad to get into coaching. And so now my younger son, is there as an equipment manager for Coach Bates. But Alex is a tremendous talent. He just started playing football a few years ago when he came here to Wagoner. And, the first time I was told he was a basketball guy, and the first time I saw him, I'm like, he might be a basketball guy right now, but he's fixing to be a football guy, because he was very well put together. I remember him he was 8th grade going into 9th grade. He said, I said, well, what are your future plans? What do you want out of this athletic career someday? He said, I want to go play basketball at Kansas. And I didn't tell him at the time, 6'4" post guys don't make it at Kansas, but they can sure have a career in football.
I can't tell you how many basketball practices I was at, watching athletes, watching football players, recruiting through all those years. I said that same thing 100 times.
Yeah.
A lot more. There's 85 football scholarships, right?
That's right. That's right. Hey, it's hard to get a basketball scholarship. Really, really hard. And
especially at 6'3", 6'4".
6'4", he better be able to shoot the lights out of it.
Exactly.
But he quickly bought in. We did some 7-on-7, and next thing you know, he's all in. Loves the weight room, loves the training, loves the learning of the game, just the technical part, fundamental part. He's really bought into that. Started all year as freshman year, then had a huge year last year as a sophomore, and started blowing up. And really, the relationship that's been developed with him and Coach Chavis has been very critical to his recruiting process and where he ended up deciding to go. And it probably didn't hurt that I might have leaned on him a little bit along the way too. I try not to be too pressure them too much. But man, I've had a couple players go and have a great career at Oklahoma State, and I told the coaches, I'm like, I cheered for those guys to do well, those players to do well. But I mean, I'm an OU guy. I can't find it within me to cheer for them again. I'm not going to cheer for them against Oklahoma. I mean, it's just not going to happen. But
You can't help what you can't help, right?
I can't help it. I mean, it's in my blood. So yeah, we're extremely excited for him. He's got huge high-end potential. He's going to be a great player.
You've got another good edge player, and when I see high school football games, teams that have good edge presence really have a lot of success because you can get after the quarterback, and then it just makes life miserable for the other team. So Whit Edwards is also committed to another future SEC school or current SEC school in Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Whit's a tremendous talent. He's got things you don't coach. He's every bit of 6'6". I forget what his wingspan was. It's one of the bigger ones. He might be the biggest wingspan in the state. 10.5-inch hands, and just all the potential in the world. And excited for him. I think he had somewhere around 20 offers. But again, through the recruiting process, the relationship that was developed with him and Coach Hay from Vanderbilt was key in where he ended up deciding he wanted to go. And if you're not going to go to Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, and you leave the state, once you leave this small town, they'll kind of keep up with you a little bit, but it's going to be more important that you go somewhere you feel comfortable and feel like you fit, and you're going to stay. So, excited for him. And Whit's been challenging at times to coach. I know we've all had those guys, but man, he is continually improving. And here lately, I've really seen a huge jump in us seeing him reach his potential because he's so talented and a very impactful player.
Dale, what are going to be some big keys for your team playing with the big game with Tuttle this weekend? What are going to be some keys for you guys to win?
Well, I think, first, we've been really good at run defense. I've always felt like that needs to be the core of what you do. And if you can make people one-dimensional, it gives you such a huge advantage. And Coach, I figured it up. Somebody asked me today because I knew we hadn't given up very many rushing yards. In the last 25 games, we've given up 727 total rushing yards in 25 games. So that's great. The key for us. And Tuttle is a predominantly run team. So to play great first down defense and to get them in situations where we dictate when they're going to throw the ball would be very, very key for us. And they have a very good player in Brady McAdoo. You got to limit the number of big plays you allow him to have. And then, just find some ways. They're very stingy on defense. You just look and they don't give up very many points. Last year, we beat them 13-10. We had to attempt 4 field goals. So we hit 2 of them. But you don't want to have to attempt 4 field goals in high school football. You need to finish a couple of those drives with touchdowns. So those are things I think. Our quarterback's a great player, Kel Charbonneau, Jr. He's again, we compare him a little bit to Malcolm Rodriguez. He's a wrestler, a very tough kid, but middle linebacker, and then he flips around and plays quarterback. And he plays quarterback with a middle linebacker mentality. But he's thrown for 2,300 and something yards, and
that's awesome.
He scored 35, 36 touchdowns. So he's a great player too. And if we get him going, we feel good about our chances.
Yeah.
We'll have you back, and you can tell some stories about Cale in college. That'll be an After Dark podcast.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Dale, best of luck this weekend.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us on.
Welcome to the 2023 FFB Awards Highlights. And First Fidelity Bank is on a tear right now. Here we have them in their element, making some big Forbes Best in State Bank plays. Oh, wow. They're going, and they bring home OKC's Community Choice Award. They chew cleft, then right, and dive right into victory with the Journal Records Reader Rankings. When FFB hits the field, they always play to win.
Continuing to visit with high school coaches throughout the state of Oklahoma, guys, teams that are in the playoffs. I'm going to pass it to our high school football expert, Mark Rodgers, to introduce our next undefeated coach.
That's Chalmer Wyatt. He's the head coach of the Elgin Owls, 11-0, first district championship at the school since the late 90s, 1996, when they were in Class 2A. Now they're all the way up in Class 5A. So about winning the district championship, you guys came up short last year in that final regular season game against Midwest City. And this year you got over the hump. What was the feeling like to know that you'd kind of taken the next step with this year's group?
Yeah, I mean, it started obviously in June before when we started our summer pride and stuff. We had a bad taste in our mouth with our last two games. We lost the district championship week 10, and then we had an early exit week 1 of the playoffs. So to get to that point, being 9-0 and playing a de facto district championship week 10, it was big for us. And, our kids had not forgot about that game. And, we returned a lot of guys and, ultimately we're just a year older. And to go into Midwest City and get that done, that was big time for us, big time for the program. And, yeah, it hadn't been done in 37 years.
Coach Wyatt, you guys in 2020 are 0-8. The
Yep.
last 2 years, you're 19-3, and with the district championship and all the change, what do you feel inside of your program were the changes in the last couple of years?
Growth. I think that we learned a lot that year. I think that we found that we believed in our program and our values at that point. We just needed to be consistent in them, and sometimes things take time. It was more of a slow cooking process, but we stuck to our guns, and it wasn't easy then, but, we got a little bit better each year. Now that year we were really, really young, and now we're kind of seeing the fruits of the labor kind of come to fruition as we're juniors and seniors mostly now.
What's it like trying to build the program up when you are going up that elevation in terms of the attendance and moving from Class 2A to Class 5A? How are you able to keep participation high and where you need it to be?
I think, again, it's kind of being just consistent in our approach when we got here. But the growth is something that's not new to Elgin. So we've, really just needed to find some consistency, getting kids out, developing players, because this is a place where sometimes you don't have just some guys that just jump out at you as just really good football players. And we've done a really good job of developing guys that were good, average to good football players. And we've turned them into guys that know how to play the game and played at the right level and intensity. And, we've had consistency in that for about 4 years now. And we got a great group of kids. It starts with that, obviously. So, but yeah, you do have to combat the growth a little bit, and you got to stay up with the classes that you're in. And, of course, when we jumped to 5A, we felt like we were getting in a really good place for 4A. So that was another battle in itself, going up a class and trying to figure out if we had the speed to compete in the next class and all the things that come with it. But we've just been consistent in our approach, and it's, it's done us some favors up to this point.
Coach, give you a minute to brag about some of your key players, like your running back, Matt Lund, and so on. But who are some of your key guys that everybody can look for this weekend?
Yeah, somebody that's really jumped on the scene. He's always been a great player, but he's really coming into his own right now is number 77, Shea Spencer. Plays defensive end and right tackle for us. Really, really good on both sides of the ball. Jace Williams is another guy right there in the middle, junior, our nose guard. And those guys are tough guys. They go both ways up front, and they, really, really free up our linebackers, do a lot of things there on the defensive side of the ball, and are really, really maulers on the offensive side. Colin Donnelly, number 18, our junior linebacker, he's got 53 tackles in the last 2 games.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
really coming into his own. Plays the game at a very, very high level. Very good instincts. Great size. And, and then, Matt obviously is doing what he does. He makes us go offensively, and, everything kind of revolves around him, and it opens up our pass game, and done a great job. Our junior quarterback is settling in, Trace Laura. He's going to be a 4-year starter when it's all said and done. So really, really playing at a high level and kind of just navigating the offense, when we're run first. His job isn't too big at times, but we got times to take shots. He does a good job of delivering the ball there. And the list goes on. Michael Adesola is a 2-way starter at wide receiver and corner. 2-year captain at that, and plays the game the right way, very dependable. Made some big catches last year, and we expect him to make more big catches in crucial moments. So, a lot of guys have come on, our outside linebackers are senior 3-year starters, Peyton Christensen and Andre Crabtree, and they do a really good job setting the edge. And they have a lot of different jobs with the fronts that we jump in and out of. So they're really, really smart in their alignment and their assignment. Ritzenmeyer is a sophomore 2-way player at will linebacker and running back. He complements Matt really well. So just a bunch of guys that have played a lot of football up to this point and now are really playing it the right way.
I noticed you guys have only given up 72 points the entire season, and I noticed all the defensive players you talked about.
Yeah. I mean, I think we brought back 8 guys on defense, and I think 8 of them start on our wrestling team too. So that's a good little thing to throw in there.
I got to ask a question here. I think they might have scored. Did you guys score 70 in the first half of a game this year against Anadarko, or pretty close to that?
It was 70-0 at halftime.
Okay, 70-0 at halftime. So giving up only 72 points all season. They can obviously score and they can obviously defend. If you want to try to win a game, say you're down 6, would you rather have your defense on the field with the opponent at the 20, or would you rather have your offense on the field with the ball at the 40-yard line? Let's say you're ahead and you've got your defense out there.
I think that we're in a place that our team plays with a lot of confidence that we could throw either unit out there and feel really good about it. And that's the good thing about, having that balance is there's not a weak spot on either side. We have full confidence in either side, but it is fun. It's fun to watch our offense score. And then our defense it's really fun because a good defense is fun to watch. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, I agree, Coach Wyatt. Lastly, what are a couple 2-3 keys to you guys being able to win this weekend?
Yeah, we've got to stop the run with our front and be able to cover with the 5 in the back. We've got to get pressure on the quarterback. I think that if our D-line has a good night, I think we'll have a good night. Offensively, we want to establish a run game. I think that's what you got to do late in the year, those 2 things, and it really falls in line with the keys for us this week, especially. They throw the ball around really well, and so we've got to get pressure and stay on top of things and make them snap it again, and then control the ball on offense and drive it and take our opportunities when we can.
Coach Wyatt, Elgin High School playing Claremore, right? 7 o'clock Friday, I'm guessing?
That's right.
Yeah, wishing you the best of luck. I appreciate you joining Mark and I.
Coach Stoops, thank you. Mark, always appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Chalmer.